Hi there, so my name is Elizabeth Thacker, and today for my Chemistry 2 class, I have completed a ferrofluid experiment. So I'm going to start off today's video by explaining the procedures that were necessary to complete the experiment. So this experiment requires vegetable oil, ink toner, a glass, a strong magnet, something to mix with, and some measuring spoons. And you can see in this photo, I have gathered all of those items. So like a lot of experiments, my first try was not exactly successful. I wasn't fully aware of what I was doing. I kind of just bought my supplies first, and then I started to read through everything that I had to do and the whole process of it. And so I got ink toner in a cartridge, and you can't actually get the ink out of that cartridge because it's just doesn't work. So I had to run back to the store, and in this next photo, you're going to see I have retrieved the necessary ink from a bottle that was needed to complete this experiment. So when I had gathered the proper materials required, the first thing that I did was start out with an empty glass, and I poured about 50 milliliters of the ink toner into this empty glass. In this photo, you can just see what it looks like. In the glass, it's just plain old ink toner. Next, I added 2 tablespoons of the vegetable oil, and as you can see in this photo right here, it kind of stays separate from the ink, and it really didn't want to blend together all that well. The next thing I did was mix the oil and the ink toner together, and I just tried to do it as thoroughly as I could. It wasn't as successful as I would have liked, but it did well enough. So after I had created my ferrofluid, it was time to test it out. So the next thing that I did was I used the magnet that I had, and I just put it right up against the glass, and you can see that the liquid reacts. In the following video, if you look very closely, you will see that it does have a reaction, and you do see some spikes raise up out of the fluid. It's not as clear, so you do have to look closely because my fluid is a little dark, but it did work. So now that you have gotten a chance to see how I collected all of my materials and completed my experiment, and you got to see the reaction that occurred with my experiment, I'm going to tell you a little bit about ferrofluids and why they work the way they do, and just what they are in general. So a ferrofluid is, simply put, a magnetic fluid. A ferrofluid is a colloidal suspension of ferromagnetic nanoparticles in a carrier fluid in some type of solvent. Ferromagnetic particles are particles that have aligned magnetic moments within the particles. Ferrofluid contains iron oxide, which is attracted to the particles. The spikes that can be seen when placing the ferrofluid close to a magnet are due to the attraction between the ferrofluid and the magnet. This attraction steers each of them into concentrated columns. Gravity attempts to pull the columns back down, and the surface tension that is created within the oil causes the columns to pull in on themselves. This creates the sharp points that you can see rising up out of the fluid when the magnet is put near to it. Ferrofluid can be used for a number of things, actually. It can actually create a watertight seal, and it can also be used in some cases to cool down wires. So it has a multitude of uses, and it's also just really cool to be able to move a fluid around a table with a magnet. So that is a plus. And I really hope that this video was able to help you understand a little bit better what ferrofluids are and the attraction that is between all the particles and why they do react to magnetic forces. Thank you for watching.